Welcome back to the Unpatched Gaming Podcast. I am host number 1 with a cold, Tyler.
And I am host number 2 with a cold, Zack.
Yeah, I'm on the tail end of mine, but it's been a week now that I've been on the tail end. I just had, I mean, we don't need to talk about it. Yeah, sure. Just flumminess in my throat for a week. It's very annoying.
Yeah.
But the bulk of it was last week. 3 false tests, so it's not COVID, but it was one of the worst colds I ever had.
Yeah, sure doesn't feel great.
No, not at all. We have a cold here, and Zach is not going to have very much, but I'm definitely going to have some beer, regardless of my cold, and regardless of the size of this bottle.
It's a Jester King bottle.
Yes, what is it? 750 something? What are these? The wine bottles?
They're under 750, aren't they? It's like 500.
I don't know.
Is that a full wine bottle? I guess it might be.
I think this is a full wine bottle.
It'd be 750.
Well, it says right here, 1.9 pints.
Thanks, English system. Thank you.
All right, tell us about it. Space Wave.
Yeah, so this is one I've had on the shelf for a while. Haven't gotten around to it yet, but it's a ale. It's their usual Jester King stuff, open fermentation, all that jazz. But it's a lime salt, re-fermented with cherries. So they use lime salt, and then when they re-ferment it and use cherries, which is makes sense. I have not tried it, so if it's terrible, it's still my fault, I guess, but I'm sorry.
Yes, indeed. You're just going to have this little boy here. And, I'm going to need this whole bottle because we are here talking about one of Zach's favorite games, which is why I'm going to need the bottle. Okay, we're here to talk about Metal Gear Solid 3. And Metal Gear Solid 4, which I did not really play much of either. It's been a terrible year. I have experienced Metal Gear Solid. I have played very little Metal Gear Solid. Oh, look at that head right there. That's going to be a good bottle of beer.
To how quickly he'll adapt to 5.
Yeah. We're going to talk about
a lot of the
gameplay a lot.
Yeah.
And what I'm expecting from 5. But I wasn't liking the first one very much, so watched it. I was having a really hard time, and I didn't want to sully my experience right out the gate, so I watched it. And then I was really trying hard to play 2. And I was playing it on easy. Well, I think, what are there, 4 difficulties?
Oh, yeah, because there's a European
third
extreme.
Being normal. And then like easy and super easy or something like that.
I think it's easy, normal, something, and then European extreme.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I was playing it on easy.
Or maybe that's 3. They have hilarious difficulty names.
And I had about 13 hours in it. And the playthrough that I watched, because I did end up watching a full playthrough of 2. The playthrough that I watched was about 11 or 12 hours long. I was 13 hours into my playthrough and maybe 3 hours into the video, so the discrepancy was way too big. I couldn't finish it in time.
It's a learning curve for sure.
Yeah.
It not only does stealth games already ask you to think so differently, and you've played plenty of stealth games, Metal Gear just takes it a step further, being, it's also Metal Gear. Some weird, crazy stuff in here. Crawl into an oil drum and roll through enemies if you feel like it, kind of stuff. Just really, it takes a while to get your head around, especially, man, when you hit 3.
Yeah, so 3, I was having a pretty hard time with it. It was much more accessible than 2, I think. Though looking back, I think I would more reticently play 2 again. But my power was out for a lot of that time, so I just couldn't do it. And I didn't end up watching this one. And then finally, my PlayStation 3 does not want to read discs. I tried multiple discs on of Metal Gear Solid 4, and also my power was out again for a few days.
Which famously is really only playable on PS3. Even on PC. Like,
Well,
to get the output, you need to have top of the line.
yes. So my disc or my PlayStation stopped reading multiple discs just after the very beginning of the game, right before you really see the geckos in action. They're introduced, and then you go through like a doorway, and there's the one hanging. It's got its legs spread and it's waiting above the doorway for you.
So great.
It stops loading on that black screen as you walk through the doorway.
That's one of my favorite mech designs in.
Dude, they're so cool.
Like, they're just real, and they're mooing the whole. It's bizarre. Like, it's really bizarre.
This metallic guttural moo. It's gross.
And just the
full spoilers all the way through for
yeah.
both of these games. We are going to talk about both of them.
So you did start the game. Oh, we'll get to 4. We'll get to 4.
I watched it though, and that was a wild time. Oh, what a good watch.
Yeah.
Which actually, watching so much of the series now, I've never been someone who likes watching video games. I get it. I totally understand why it's so appealing to people. That sort of shared language where you can just get in a chat room on Twitch and all of you are speaking the same language. You and the entertainer and all of the the audience, and I see the fun. It's never been for me, but now I think I would like to just watch more games. I would consume more games that, sort of like an audiobook situation. I would consume a lot more narrative focused games that way. Like the first thing that comes to mind is Guardians of the Galaxy. That'll probably be the next one I watch.
What do you think it is about Metal Gear Solid 2 and 4 in particular that that kind of flipped that switch for you?
The fact that their TV shows, their cutscenes are 45 minutes long. 2 is way longer than I was anticipating. There are
that final
several
sequence,
half-hour cutscenes in there. I think.
And that final sequence is like
very, very long. So there's that, but then also usually when you pull up a full playthrough, no commentary on YouTube, it's a professional player. So that 13 hours, or let's say it was 11 hours for the Metal Gear Solid 4 playthrough, was cut down about 10 hours because this was an absolute professional. I think he got alerted.
Exactly where to go.
Yeah, I think he got alerted 3 times in the playthrough.
Oh, dude, you know what saved my life is
Pray tell.
Rolling.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's
rolling.
like how he moved, basically, throughout the whole game.
You're low to the ground, your camo's up, and you just roll.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not talking about 4 yet. I want to as much, so bad.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
So, we've kind of talked about my previous experience, but just for a recap for some folks.
This beer's great, dude.
Yeah, it's really good. Just a recap for some folks. So I have played through all these games before. It's been a few years now. Probably 3, what? Maybe?
Yeah, something around there.
Yeah, and I fell in love like immediately. 5 is what really did it for me, and having played 5 and going back to replay the others has just really made me appreciate these others even more.
And did you play them all in order, or did you play 5 first?
I played all of them in order.
Nice.
I even played Peace Walker, which we won't be playing.
Yeah.
Which I don't hate me. Everyone seems to love Peace Walker, and I love the aesthetic of Peace Walker. Like all the cutscenes and like it's all this comic book, but like really like broad brush stroke, really stylized comic book.
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking
about. It looks great. Lots of like black and white with like a strip of yellow here on a scarf. Like it just looks great. But playing the game is like,
it's basically like the concept art.
Yeah, it looks great.
Animated, like each layer from Photoshop just stacked on for the animation.
That's it. Yep. And I just didn't enjoy it that much. The bosses are slog and stuff. That's the only Metal Gear game I probably won't revisit besides 1.
Yeah, 1 is
one's rough.
So rough, dude.
But I love a lot of it. So I'll probably watch it again. But all that to say, so my previous experience is loving all of them. My ranking, kind of for that first playthrough, the 5s are my favorite, and then it was 3, and then 2, then 4, then 1, then Peace Walker. That was my ranking. So far on the replays, we are at 2 is better than 1, so no change. Playing 3, I prefer 3 to 2, but the margin between them is so much smaller. Like 2 grew exponentially in my mind, and 3 went down a little bit.
Okay.
And what it does, you know me and my priorities. The gameplay of 3 is just obviously superlatively better.
Yeah.
So it's, and what they're doing there, but what he was able to accomplish in 2 from a narrative and prophetic standpoint, honestly,
God,
and how all the
you can listen to our episode on that. I loved it.
Yeah, it's honestly an achievement. One of the
and the
best
opening
games.
is really good.
The tanker.
The tanker is a really great environment.
It's so fun to explore and like mess around and learn the controls. Hiding in orange boxes and like, it's just.
I liked it a lot.
Accidentally blowing the whole ship up because you dive through those lasers. Like, I can just dive through the lasers. Oh no, I killed everyone. Whoops. Sorry, everyone.
I do think into though, Fat Man is a bit of a blemish on the series. Like nothing gets that crazy, and it's so.
And there's
outlandish.
a vampire in 2 of them. And it's still not as outlandish as, well, not outlandish maybe, but like as just absolute reality shattering as this.
Yeah, like the vampire feels more real than a fat man on roller skates who is drinking wine from a champagne flute while on rollerblades.
Which, I mean...
Doesn't he do dances while on the rollerblades?
Like, he's going through it. He's amazing.
Oh my god, dude. It's crazy. But 2 is the... so of the 4, 4 was, of course, awesome. But 2 is still my favorite. Again, this is because of the narrative. I barely got to play 4, unfortunately. Again, multiple discs there. But looking at the gameplay that I've watched of both of them, I think I would more readily play 2 than 4. And it is also my favorite story. I love the environment, that coral orange with, the color is so perfect. Everything drenched in salt. I talked about the color on the in that episode, but you can see that the color is just awesome in that game. The story, and I would play it on Vita. I think the gameplay would probably lend itself pretty well these days to a handheld.
And dude, use boxes. Please.
Yeah.
Like, if you forget to use boxes, you will have... Because that's the way I went through the game the first time, I literally never used the box.
Yeah, me too.
And
that's one of the reasons I was having such a hard time.
5 is what opened my eyes to how good the box is. Like, I get it now. 5, especially because 5, it's so much more versatile what you can do with the box. But
you can sit in it and go down a sand dune, right?
Yeah, so you can actually, like, you put it on... It has a converted mode, so when you stand up, it like converts lengthwise. So you're running around with this box on your head, and then you can dive down, like sand dunes and ride it. It's very silly. If it's raining though, the box will fall apart.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so you have to be really careful.
While it's in your inventory, or only while you're using it?
Just while you're using it. And some guards are more like, depending on the alert level and depending on the eliteness of the guard, they may, why is this box in the middle of the road? Like, what? This is just stupid. And so they'll come out and poke it and find you. But it's, like the usefulness, especially in 2, just being able to throw the box on, just wait, peek through the little, see the little holes in the box. It's great. All that to say, the series as a whole, I want to bring up a few things. Dude, the importance of manuals to this game. Like, going back through... the internet helped me through a lot of my first playthroughs on these. Not, like, where to go, but, like, just... How do I stop getting caught by guards? How do I stop, like...
Yeah,
how do
they're very hard.
Yeah, and
then the enemies are endless.
Yeah, they are endless. And so, like, how do I not get caught? Like, what am I missing? And the depth of the mechanics... I was like, man, how would anyone know this? I compare it to when I first played Final Fantasy 1. And I had searched the whole... Earth. I could not find where to go next. I had no idea what to do. There was no hint. I needed to find an airship, and I had no idea where to go. I looked it up online, and it's just this obscure thing you're supposed to go do, and I was like, this game sucks. Like, what the heck? Come to realize a few months later that the manual ends at that moment. Like, it walks you through the whole game, which is like over a third of the game, up until that point. Like, the manual is there to kind of be a companion to actually playing the game.
Interesting.
And so, remembering that, I actually started flipping through the manuals this time, and all the stuff people on the internet were telling me are just right there in the manual. Like, it's just right there.
Yeah,
like,
we don't get that anymore because one, there are no more manuals, but also just tutorials.
I love seeing PS3 games with manuals. I mean, dude, the Metal Gear Solid 4 manual, it's a great, big, chunky manual.
Yeah,
tells you about.
Maybe I'll pick up a copy of MGS4 just to have, because the Legacy Collection does not have one.
Yeah, it's all digital.
And then I'm gonna reformat my PlayStation and hopefully it'll work. But yeah, that's
But they're like hints like
good.
on the manual at the bottom, like, hey, if you help out these soldiers, they won't alert you, and they'll probably actually help you push through the war zone.
Yeah, he was the guy I was watching was pretty good
making
at doing
friends, throwing rations on the ground and stuff. Yeah, the manual tells you to do that stuff, and it's like, I wouldn't have known to throw a ration on the ground. Like I would have no idea. So yeah, the importance of manuals really stood out to me playing again. How does it hold up as an end-to-end experience? Metal Gear. I would argue that to this day, as long as you aren't of a certain age below us, I think it holds up as an end-to-end experience. I think that someone who plays older games, like, I am amazed at how many people come into the Metal Gear fandom, even now. Like, and every Metal Gear person, if you go on the forums, if you go anywhere, they're all going to say play 1 through 5. And 1 through 4, Peace Walker 5. Like, they're every single one. They're like, don't miss one. The only exception is if you're really just here for stealth, play 5. If that's literally all you're here for. If you don't want Metal Gear.
Yeah.
If you just want the best stealth games ever been made, like,
play 5.
Yeah, but and some people play 5 and then come back, where should I start? And you're like, dude, you've played 5? Like, just go 1 through the end. You'll love it. Because you get to see what got them to 5.
Yeah, and we've talked about this on the cast before. I can't quite remember what the context or what the few contexts were, but there's such a powerful nostalgia that accompanies a playthrough like that. Even though I've only played them over the course of these 7 months, I didn't grow up with them. I don't have even the short time that you have with them, the 3 years. But when going back to Shadow Moses in 4, I'm like,
yeah, dude,
are we doing this right now, bro? We're going back to Shadow Moses, bro?
And dude, when you drop in and it's literally the PS1.
Yeah, it's so good.
And like when he wakes up, his face is the PS1 polygon, and then it fades into his. It's really good. You can wear that later too.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you can wear it. It's pretty good. But yeah, I find that odd as well. Like when I hit 4, I was like, oh, dude, yes. And to their credit, they recreate it like.
Oh my, dude, the first setting, so incredible. Like the open, you go through the door on the left, and I forget what gun you find there.
There's a little pistol right at the end.
Yeah,
whatever.
Anyway, yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, and I love
perfectly
as you go
recreated.
in, it becomes less and less what you remember, which is really good. It's a good touch. It's a really good touch. A sniper battle right where you fought Sniper Wolf, like it's just yeah. That was nostalgia
really
done
awesome.
right. Anyway, I'm kind of spoiling it here. Obviously, I really like 4.
Yeah,
I will.
It's a good time.
To the chagrin of everyone listening, I like 4 significantly better than 3, actually, which is the biggest. It will be the biggest change playing through the series again. I think 4 is an absolute masterpiece, bogged down by some pretty boggy things, but the whole package is great.
Well, I didn't get to experience those, so I can't wait to hear what they might be.
Yeah, it's good stuff. One last thing for the whole series before we dive into 3. What does Metal Gear mean today? Not like, okay, 2 is about this. Like what is Metal Gear? Like, you are talking video games with someone, and you bring up, oh, have you played Metal Gear? Metal Gear Solid, the series. What does that mean? When you're saying those words, what are they? What does it signify? What does it belong to in this whole thing called playing video games? Will it become this obscure thing eventually that's just like, oh, it's this really weird series that some guy made? It was, pretty well designed. Some people, like, it was a cult fan, but will it die out because there's never going to be any more games? Or will it be the gem, forever? Will it be that, oh, but there's nothing like Metal Gear? Will it be that forever, or will that fade?
I think it'll be that for a long time.
Yeah, forever's a strong word.
I think, we look back on something like Skyrim. There are better games that have come out since Skyrim that are doing that. But no one's going to top Skyrim.
Yeah.
Especially Final Fantasy 13-2, or 13 Lightning Returns, literally quoted, "We're trying to make a Skyrim killer." No, it'll never happen. It will never happen. So I think the Metal Gear Solid franchise as a whole is going to stand the test of time, and has proven to do so already. With
it's 7 years since the last entry.
7 years since the last entry, and then what is it, 20 something years? 23?
98.
24. So 24 years since Solid started, anyway.
Yeah, because if you go back all the way to Metal Gear, that's 87.
Metal Gear. God, his voice, man.
Dude, he's so good. I love him.
He does really grow with the character.
Oh, definitely.
Though, he's playing Snake in 3 as well, right? David Hayter's
he
in all
plays
of them.
Snake in all of them except 5.
I think one of his better performances, 4 of course is
old Snake
peak.
is just
But the weight of the character, a totally different weight than any of the other games. In 2, with what is it, Pliskin? Iroquois Pliskin.
Iroquois Pliskin.
Yeah, his performance in the beginning, when you're first getting to know him as Raiden, is just so good. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
the tone of his voice and the weight of everything he's saying.
It's definitely my favorite.
It's good.
Favorite rendition of Snake is 2, because it's the one that we remember, the legendary hero, the guy who. But one of the best things about 2 is he's doing all the cool stuff off screen. Like, you're just doing cleanup, like he's doing everything cool.
Which is, I guess maybe we're jumping around here. Okay, there's no getting this back on track. At least not for a little while with 3 and 4. When we talk about gameplay, we'll compare the two, but conversation's been all over the place so far.
Yeah.
So I'd like to jump in here because that's a pretty good segue, and why by a pretty significant margin, 2 is my favorite so far. And I'm going to separate 2, and probably it will still be my favorite after 5, because from what it sounds like to me, this is a Breath of the Wild sort of break in the franchise. It's not fair to compare Breath of the Wild with pre-Breath of the Wild Zelda. So I usually talk about them in a different breath. So I'm going to do the same with 5, I'm sure. So if we're comparing the first 4, 2, there's a really interesting arc to the series, I think. 1 is great political fantasy. It's a lot of fun. Okay. But it feels like it's obviously fake.
Yeah. And it's so, like, that's part of what makes it so beloved. Like, one of my favorite things I've seen on YouTube is the 4K someone reanimated with with modern 3D models the very beginning of Metal Gear Solid 1. A nuclear weapons disposal facility on Shadow Moses Island. Like, the whole dialogue, all that stuff. Like, I'm almost at the point, having played that game only twice, where I can say that whole beginning thing by him. Even the terrible grammar. Your former unit, and one that I was a commander of. Like, what? Don't end with prepositions, Colonel.
That it's great political fiction, but it's fiction. And 2 is so outlandish. And then you have Snake coming in there as, outlandish as the character and the legend of Snake is, grounding everything, but it becomes like the level of fantasy in 2 breaks outside of what it's doing, that totally outlandish political military fiction. It's insane. But
President checking your testicles, just crazy.
In its insanity, it starts to become real life. And I don't think either of the other
it
two
deconstructs into real life. It's
that's what
bizarre.
that's what I'm trying to say. I don't think either of the other two do that.
No, 2 stands. In fact, Kojima, when he realized he was going to be able to make a sequel to Solid, said 2's it. Like, this is what I want to say. And he said it brilliantly. And then he gets to make another game. And he's like, oh, I mean, I guess. Like, sure. And so
then 3, from what I've seen of it, is a pretty grounded story. You got the silly stuff in there.
Yeah,
of course, Ocelot flipping his guns, having an orgasm while reloading. He's insane.
So he's my favorite character in the series, like, for sure. I think Ocelot's just the best.
He's a lot of fun. Pretty much everybody is, except for Rose. I wish she'd die in a ditch.
Oh yeah, Rose is really rough.
I think Raiden is more in shambles post being put back together and now back with Rose than he was when he was a mech.
And Raiden is, what they do with him in 4 is very interesting, considering what 2 meant and what it left with. It's very pessimistic if you think about it long enough.
Yeah.
But
so 3 becomes really real and grounded and personal. It's not as big as any of the other ones, right?
What it does different than... It's very personal. And what it does differently than 1 is it's actually really, really good, political thriller Cold War stuff. It's actually good. It's still ridiculous as Kojima stuff, but, I know many people, myself included, who at the last shot of the game, shed a tear. I did. When I first played it. I didn't this time around, but the first time I played it, because the culmination of all the stuff that has happened in this game, and it's oh dude, especially because that's the same spot that Snake goes to kill himself in 4.
Oh yeah,
it's just it's so good. But so yeah, it's very different in that regard.
But I think 4 is trying to do all of that.
Correct.
And doesn't do any one piece
3 dug the grave
better than the other ones.
Yeah, because 2 did not take 1 seriously.
No.
It did not at all. 4 takes all of them very seriously.
Including itself.
And
I think a little too seriously.
Yeah, and I think that's... I have it here when I'm talking about the story. Obviously, 3 is everyone's favorite in terms of, story. It's not mine. I prefer 2 as well. Any game in which you get to see Otacon and Snake do a bro handshake and then walk away with him crying about his up sister. It's just great stuff. But 3, definitely, if we're talking just pure, spy fiction, it's the best, by margin.
Maybe instead of Guardians, I'll finally get around to watching 3.
It gets nuts. Some of these characters... they go places. But the boss and Big Boss, their connection and how that kind of carries the game is just really well done. Really well done. Mm-hmm. All that to say, because it was so good at being that grounded Cold War thriller, grounded for Kojima.
Yeah.
It's 4 then tries to take all of itself, everything from 2, which 2 is not even a narrative. It's a deconstruction, meta, it devolves into something that's not just narrative anymore.
Yeah.
But then it treats it like lore.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I know there are many lore fans out there. I always struggle to listen to Super Bunny Hop, who I really like his content, but I struggle to listen to his Metal Gear Solid 4 and 5 reviews because he's talking about how it failed the lore of the series. And I'm like, dude, you're a writer, a reader, you should know what this series is doing. By 4 and 5, the problem with 4 is that it takes stuff too seriously. So when you hit 5, why do you care so much that it didn't tie everything up into a neat bow for the lore? You should have learned your lesson that the lore needs to get thrown out the window. Let it just be this weird... I have it here, actually.
His notes.
Yeah, I have it here. So, continuity was never the point. Each game works best as a loosely connected, cyclical set of themes and ideas being retold, like similar things being retold over and over. The same, it's always the 5, supernatural villains, or however many supernatural villains, and it's these same themes, but he's saying something different with each game, and he's talking about something different with each game. There's a book called Viraconium. It's a fantasy book by a guy named M. John Harrison. And he hates world building. He hates it. He's a fantasy writer who thinks world building is ruining fantasy. Because people build these expansive worlds and that's the purpose. And he compares it to Coke. Like, Coca-Cola is building you a world, and when you read these fantasy novels that are not challenging you, they're just building this world that you're interested in, and you buy it, you are more readily going to buy the world Coke is selling you. You're more readily going to buy the world Ulta Beauty is selling you. And that's his argument. So he wrote this book, Viraconium, in which he writes a fantasy story, and then when he gets to the next section, he starts writing either a continuation or a recapitulation of it with the rules totally changed in the world. Like, the world shifted around. Like, there's no way to put it together into an overarching story. Like, everything needs to stand on its own. And that's his argument, essentially, in novel form. And I think that's what Metal Gear should have been. Something like that. These loosely interconnected, like, even strongly interconnected things. They can be, this happened in the 60s, this happened in the 70s, this happened in the 80s. But it would have been better if you couldn't draw a line through the lore. Mm-hmm. If it didn't try to put all that together. If each one got to be its own thing. It gives Kojima more freedom. It gives any of the creative team more freedom. And lets them make something more like 2 again. So that's, that was that's the longest section I have on here. A little tirade.
Well, I agree. As little as I know about 3, what I do know, lends itself to that argument. And of course, seeing 1 and 2 and my feelings for 2, I think that's true. 4 is taking everything way too seriously. Not to say there's not fun, silly, dumb stuff. You still have a vampire in it.
Oh, dude. When
Raiden gets his arms cut off and then does sword fighting with his mouth and toes.
High heels.
Yeah.
His like cyborg high heels. Dude, Raiden is fantastic.
Oh, and even crazier than that, he gets back with Rose.
Oh yeah, that's the true insanity.
I hate Rose so
dude,
much.
my favorite. We'll get there. Okay. But yeah, it's good stuff. Right. You want to dive into 3 real quick?
Yeah, man. Take it away. Spoil it all for me.
Yeah. So I say here the story we just talked about dug the grave for 4, like because 4 decided it needed to take that stuff seriously, and there's no way it would have been able to live up to all of the crazy threads left undone by all these other 3 games. So let me talk gameplay, which is where this game shines. This is what makes 3 memorable and what it is. So the one thing that gets better every game, with obviously 5 being a weird exception because of what kind of game it is level design. Like, moving through these areas, there's no open progression in 3. Like, each area you can progress through in different ways, but the areas themselves are connected one to the other. It's linear. You just go to the area. But they're all really, there's always multiple ways through. If you're really paying attention, you'll see like maybe a little hidey hole, like something to like crawl through and crawl past a couple of the more observant guards. There's always something to get on top of, or one of my favorite areas in the game is literally just, it's a box. It's just a box, and the guards are patrolling around. There's a helicopter off to the side, and in the center is just this big like storehouse, essentially. Little office spaces and stuff in there. And you can get on top of the building. You can you can really do a lot in this surprisingly like simply constructed space because of the depth of the mechanics and what you're allowed to do in the game. I think the level design really stands out here, even when you consider the boss fights, which I'll get to in a second. The mechanical depth, something else I want to bring up. This definitely ups the ante more than anything until 4 to 5. Like from 2 to 3 is like, I mean, and it's crazy because it's the same console, right? Like it's 3 years later, and the jump in terms of mechanical depth is amazing. You can starve out guards. Like all the rules that apply to you apply to guards. If you blow up their storehouses, you can starve out the guards. You can, you have a little bit more options with close quarters combat. You can hold people up. You can, which you have been able to the other games, but combining that with the newly more robust close quarters combat, where you don't just have that punch kick or a choke out. You have a little bit more flexibility now. Another thing, I mean, is considering the crazy amount, honestly, of disguises. You can get a gator head and like sit in the water.
Awesome.
And like just like make everybody think you're just a gator in the water, and then like pop out and get them. Like it's really like there's just a lot of options available that synergize well in the environments. You can look, for the most part, look at a situation, assess it, and if you're good enough at the game, get through it really, really creatively and quickly, because it offers that depth there. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I can't really speak to that, unfortunately.
That is
I didn't get very far.
So one thing I wrote here is, if you think it can work within limitations of the PS2, you can probably make it work. So my favorite boss fight in the entire series, it is in my top 5 boss fights of all time. I love it. You fight the End, who is just this ancient old man. He's the oldest, like, he's the father of sniping is what they call him, which is such a silly name. The father of modern sniping. But he's so old that he's dormant. So he's basically a plant. He photosynthesizes to live. And so he is dormant and he's in a wheelchair. And he chooses not to move because he only has about a week left to live. And so he is just this dormant creature that the boss finally says, hey, we need you to take out Snake. And he does. And so he's like ready. So he lays down. The forest responds to him. Oh. Like he's very a very interesting character. There's a part earlier in the game where you watch a cutscene of the boss pushing the End in a wheelchair and, talking to Volgin and all these stuff. And your Snake's kind of in the back, like, spying on him. If you got the sniper rifle from the previous area, the optional area, and you are fast enough, you got to be fast. He's only on screen for like 3 seconds. You can shoot him in the head and bypass his boss fight later in the game.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, just like, he's like, well, I left him out there. Well, I guess if you shoot him, he won't be there. Like just... Yes, the answer is yes. And you'll see that more and more as the series progresses. He just wants to keep saying, yes, it's that Breath of the Wild design. Can you do that? Yeah, sure. No problem. Like, let's make it happen. He's pretty good at making that happen. Another boss fight that works well with is, there's a boss called the Fear who, like, snaps his arms out of sockets and, like, climbs, like, Exorcist style backwards up trees and stuff. And he...
Gets me every time.
But he has to eat because he's so... He's so fast and jumping around everywhere. His metabolism goes way faster than yours. Okay. So his energy bar goes down really quickly. So he has to go eat stuff. So you can keep him from eating, and it'll kill him. That's a good way to do it. Also, though, you can put food on the ground, like easily accessible, that's like gone bad. Yeah. And he'll eat it, and he'll go, like just like Snake does if he eats something, goes, disgusting.
Yeah, just like that.
Pretty tasty. So good.
I think, speaking of his, his voice, Snake's voice and the sort of one-liners, it's not a one-liner, but in the opening to 4, he must say the word control like 700 times.
Probably, yeah.
And I think it's one soundbite. I think they took out him naturally saying control in the sentence and put the single soundbite of him saying control, because it never changes.
It's incredible.
There is no change in inflection in his voice. Sometimes doesn't fit the sentence.
My
like the way he's saying.
Favorite moments in 4 from his performance is just him going, just like groaning.
Yeah,
like
being an old man that doesn't like eggs.
Dude, that's one of my favorite scenes. Because, like, Hal's just trying to be like, oh, Sonny, they're great. She's like, you haven't eaten them yet. What does he tell her?
It says something like, maybe next time we could try not to burn them.
Yeah, he's like just being a total douchebag to this child. He just has no time. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, poor Sonny.
So some of my favorite moments, I talked about the End. So the sniper battle with him, like, this is why I would never actually try to kill him. I just love this boss fight. It's 3 separate areas, like full-size areas that you're moving through. And he is very fast and runs away from you, and he sits down.
Wait, the End?
Yeah, the End. Like, he just, when he gets hit, he's really fast. It's really bizarre.
In his wheelchair?
No, he's not in a wheelchair anymore because he's no longer dormant. He has taken his last week of life to fight you. Okay. And so it's this legendary sniper duel. So if you're very good, you can find him and sneak up behind him and do damage. And that's people who are really good. It's more fun, I think, just have a sniper duel with him. So they're like, you have to really think outside the box. You have to really get a feel for the area. If he sees you, bam, you're getting popped. And your energy is going down way faster because he has photosynthesis, so he just absorbs the sun and he's good to go. So you can see the glint of his rifle sometimes. You can use that little like listening radar to like try to hear him out. You can hear him. You can hear him like kind of heavily old man breathing. It's really satisfying to fight him as a sniper battle because he's a worthy opponent and like you really have to feel your way through. And the levels are so well designed. There's even replaying it. There's no like, oh, he's probably there or there. No, like he could be anywhere. He's great. And you could also kill him by turning off your PlayStation for a week and coming back and turning your PlayStation back on, and he will be dead because he only has a week left to live.
Oh, those silly things like in 4.
Oh my gosh.
with the new Mantis.
It's so silly.
Goodness. I really wish because I think in the game you can still move with the D-pad. Do you know if that's true?
I don't know.
I think so, because the D-pad isn't used for anything else, right?
I don't believe so.
Yeah. Why? You could put food there.
Yeah, there's
like another menu for food. Another menu, like you could use left and right for a food toolbar and up and down for a camo toolbar. Because you're going into that menu so often.
Yeah, they should have changed it for the subsistence release. Because I think the original was designed with because you didn't have camera movement in the original release.
Yeah.
So I wonder what limitations were present there. But anyway, some other things I really like. Revolver Ocelot, period. Just every time he's on screen.
Of course. Young little baby Ocelot.
It's just so silly. I also just love my favorite, like, all the Metal Gear memes. Metal Gear, like all that stuff. My favorite is still just, you're pretty good. Like his little, like, I love it. Especially because,
Oh, he's such a nerd with the gun.
Oh my god.
It's like this gorgeous woman that wants to jump his bone right now.
Oh, dude, Snake is
and he's
just
like, just taking apart this gun and just having a good old time.
Yeah, he's just, he loves it. Lots of really good quality moments like that. Of course, another great one is like, no, that's interesting. They give the engravings give you no tactical advantage whatsoever. It's just like, it's so. And then it's funny because in 5, Ocelot will start saying that to some of the guys at your base and stuff. It's just it comes back, especially like knowing how 4 ends.
Interesting.
No, Troy Baker plays Ocelot in 5 as well.
Yeah, and I don't know why Ocelot is with you.
Because you are. You're.
I don't know the end of 3.
Peace Walker.
Or Peace Walker, yeah.
The end of 3 and Peace Walker, yeah. Ocelot is like a quadruple agent, of course, but he's been on the side of the U.S. pretty much the whole time, and yeah, he's interesting. I don't know his lore. I don't care. I like Ocelot.
Yeah.
Just like him. In fact, my favorite moment in the entire series from a non-gameplay perspective, is an Ocelot moment, and we'll get there. Another one, just the whole ending sequence, obviously, of 3. His salute at the end, when he walks past the senator's handshake, it's really clean, really well done. He has now grown up. He has realized that all of this is bull crap. It's like this. It's like children fighting, and someone's benefiting off of it, and he's just disenfranchised. So he goes to make Outer Heaven, which is a great concept. I really like Outer Heaven as a concept.
Do they talk about that in the third game?
No, because he, at the very end, is when he kind of starts to get that idea, and it's not even stated. It's implied because you know where he'll go if you know, Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, not Solid, the originals, you'll know where he ends up. You'll know this is why he did those things. Peace Walker and 5 try to elaborate why. A little bit more to their disadvantage, and I'd argue, but Peace Walker does a better job than 5 for sure.
Is 5 him making Outer Heaven?
In 5, so Outer Heaven is an intangible kind of thing. Outer Heaven is what it will be called by the time that you get to Metal Gear, Metal Gear on the MSX. In Peace Walker, he calls it Militaire Sans Frontières, so Army Without Borders, which is the concept, right? We have no nation to be the scapegoat for, right? We have no nation to take the fall for. We are soldiers. This is what we do. So essentially a mercenary group, but almost like a nation of soldiers. It's very unique. It's what eventually became in For the PMCs, essentially, which is another really cool concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the coolest concept in 4. And then 5 is Diamond Dogs is the name of the Outer Heaven in 5. Diamond Dogs.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's a good
Kiefer
game.
Sutherland, bro.
Dude, he does a good job. Yeah, Venom Snake. I love how every game has a different code name. So Solid, Raiden, Naked, Old, and then Venom. I think in Peace Walker he's just called Big Boss. But yeah. And Venom is definitely it's interesting.
So I'd like to, while we're still on 3, ask a question about Raiden. So he's a soldier that is being trained with this VR stuff. He thinks he knows everything. By the time he gets on the field, it is immediately proven wrong.
Yeah.
I did my VR training. I'm a little gamer boy.
And Kojima is totally, oh my gosh. It's like, just talk about not pandering to your audience, just like poking them in the ribs. You guys suck. You think you're cool because you play Snake? You suck.
Yeah. It's amazing, dude. I love to.
I did the Shadow Moses incident. I did that training. I know.
Yeah.
It's just like...
So he's almost this engineered soldier. He's a person, I get that. But barely.
Yeah.
Is it just an Easter egg in 3? A little nod?
Yes.
That's it?
It's just an Easter egg.
Okay, so in 3 you can...
4 doesn't even try to loop in some lore implication. It's literally just an Easter egg.
Okay. Yeah, so 4 doesn't do it. It's nothing.
Yeah, correct. If it doesn't happen in 4, nobody's going to try.
Okay. So in 3 you can put on a mask as a part of your camo, your disguise. That is just Raiden's face.
Which is actually a colonel. So it comes from. So there's a colonel you meet later in the game who has that face, and part of the initial plan of the mission was to disguise yourself as him, and you have to end up doing that again anyway.
Why does he have his face?
It's literally just because they wanted to use Raiden's face. I don't know.
Goodness.
Yeah, I don't know.
Goodness gracious. Anyhow.
So the one thing I want to talk about, I've been heaping a lot of praise on this game. Here's the reason it kind of fell a little bit in my mind. So I posted this on Reddit, asking, hey, is this just me? This is my second time through. How does the community feel about 3? Because I only ever see praises. Here are some of the issues I ran into. What do you think? And I was surprised. Every response was, yep, I feel that. Yep, those are all legit. I just love it anyway. Which is the response I was looking for. So,
yeah, what are those?
So here are the 3. Number 1. I feel like... I'm going to read these out. I feel like Metal Gear Solid 5 taught me how to play 3 better than 3 itself did. Having the open world in 5 gave me more freedom to experiment without a punishing failure state. I think to appreciate 3's incredible systems, you need to make your way through it a few times. A more generous failure state, maybe only in certain parts, would have helped this immensely.
Okay.
I think one of the best benefits of 5 is it's so complex and so deep, but you choose when to start the mission. Until then, the open world is just open, and you can even go to where the mission is going to happen, like that big base. You can go there and mess around. It's just not gonna be as heavily guarded. Scripted events won't happen. It won't be quite as interesting.
If you move let's say you move a Jeep into position, will it be there when you start the game?
It will not.
Okay.
That is, they try to kind of make you bring in now that the failure state has started. Make your magic happen.
Okay. And can you leave? Can you, not in the menu, quit, restart mission or something, can you just leave?
Yeah.
It's still an open world that doesn't enclose you?
Yeah, you can.
In the space?
You can leave. There's a couple missions, there's 4 missions maybe where it's a very specific place that you get dropped into that's cut off.
That makes sense.
But it's almost never.
Okay.
It's places you can't even go back to, unless you do the mission again. So yeah, you can literally just leave if you wanted to go. Oh, I remember that there's a tank on the other side of the map. You can literally, like, it'll kill your score at the end of the mission, because time is a huge weighted factor in the mission scoring. But you can literally ride your horse all the way to the side of the map, grab the tank, and drive it all the way back, and just blow everyone up. If that's what you really want to do.
Can you call your horse?
Of course.
Like any other game?
Of course.
Good.
You can make your horse poop on the road, which will make vehicles swerve off the road.
Cool. You, like on command?
Yeah, you tell the horse to poop. You tell the horse to poop.
So silly.
It's incredible. So yeah, I think the failure state is really, and especially because the guards are so attentive. Like, the one complaint that everyone agrees on in 3 is they are way too attentive. Like, the guards can just see you from across the map.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's really brutal. And so if you don't know the map really well, you're going to get seen. I had some pretty creative kills where I finally, like, you know, felt okay with myself. I dropped down from a railing down to a lower railing and swiped it, got him out. Like, you know, a couple cool things. But generally, like, your plans aren't going to go according to plan unless you know the game, like, really well. Which sucks, because the depth there is really rewarding. And you don't have the freedom to mess with it, because the failure state is, first of all, you don't die very fast in 3. Like, some of the later levels, I have to, like, blow myself up.
Yeah.
Like, or, like, take the death pill or whatever to just get the freaking game to restart. And I have that here, the third point, the checkpoint system. I'm super spoiled by modern quick loading, but I think this game would have been even better with a simple quick load. Make it count as a death to avoid scumming, save the alert count, but reset the alert. Yeah, I think that it's such a pain to go, well, I totally botched this. I'm not happy with the result. I need to restart. And they just don't make that convenient at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's definitely a more modern thing. So that holds the game back a lot. Dude, and then the controls are much more unwieldy than I remember. I'm ashamed to say I've killed more enemies with an accidental throat slit than I have with a weapon.
Yeah, because they aren't made for that game. They were made for Metal Gear Solid 2. Because it was made just like Metal Gear Solid 2,
yes.
right? I don't know. I had a lot of problems with the...
And the pressure,
just
dude.
doing things.
So both 4 and 3 have this thing where the grab button, once you have an enemy grabbed, if you put extra pressure on it, in 3 you'll kill them. In 4 you'll try to knock them out. 4, because it's a PS3 controller, right? Like, I mean, technically it is because I'm playing it here anyway, but it's just better, right? It was built for the PS3 controller already, so, like, I have, like, maybe once actually I started choking someone. Like, once. 3, I accidentally throat slit people all the time. Because it was like, I just was not barely touching it. And I've let people go by accident because I'm barely touching the trigger.
How does that work? I didn't know it was...
So if you grab them...
like that.
If you grab them and you hold the button down really hard, you'll stab them in the throat.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is I didn't know that the PS2 controller weren't just, you know, buttons like on the Switch.
Yeah, I had no idea. I in fact, playing this game and reading the manual, I was like, what? Really? Like, there's no way this is like a PS3 only thing. And sure enough, you go back to the PS2. That's how it worked in the PS2.
Interesting. Game. I didn't know that about the
which obviously
DualShock
works really
2.
well in 4. Works great. It's just so convenient to just put a little more pressure and go. I struggle to lower my gun, climbing wall presses, shimmying. Like, I had a great run. I was shimmying past this thing, and the camera angle was turned just the wrong way, and Snake ran off the ledge instead. Like, and I was holding the same direction, the same exact direction the whole time. It was really frustrating.
You know, I don't think so. What button are you holding to press that, or like to accent? Is it L1 or L2?
Don't remember.
Because if it's the front, they definitely aren't. Whatever that's called, like where it's a lever, not a button.
It's triangle. Sorry, it's not the trigger. It's triangle.
What?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
How does that have multiple modes of pressing it?
I don't know. I'll pull out the manual. And we'll see.
I bet that's something like way under the hood in the tech that is not actually supposed to be used.
Incredible. Yeah, probably. Kojima's always been really on top of tech. Like, he'll implement stuff very early.
How can you press the triangle button with
Different levels of
weight? What does that mean?
I don't know. I hate it though. Took me longer to admit to get used to cycling through crouching, crawling, standing, which that was more of a me problem, I think. So those are the 3 big complaints, but those are some big complaints, and they do bog down the overall experience.
Yes, pretty immensely.
Pretty significantly, to where I don't think this is as universally recommendable as I thought it was on the first time. And when a lot of people recommend it, I think they need to be a little more careful to consider its age. It is old.
I think that's true of all of the games. 1 through 4. Because 4 is incredibly, almost infinitely more accessible game, and I get that, but they are still very robust and a little obtuse.
Yes, yeah.
So just games. By default, they are difficult to recommend, I think.
Yeah, it definitely takes a kind of person who's has the patience to really wrestle with a lot of the good systems in there. I just want to read my last little bit here. It's not a complaint. I just said, despite these complaints, it's still one of my favorite games. My number 1 game of all time is Metal Gear Solid 5, so I care more about the delivered experience than the game being quote-unquote flawless. Mm-hmm. Most of Kojima's games have issues, but it's usually because they reach so high. I'd rather have a game fall short of a bar nobody has reached for before than a game that checks all the boxes we've seen 1,000 times. Right? That's why Death Stranding keeps climbing higher in my mind as one of my favorite gaming experiences. Despite having some big moments in the game where I'm like, come on. Like, audibly. Like, come on. Like, I'd get frustrated. But looking back and knowing the kind of pace I'd go on a second playthrough, and just some of the experiences that I have never felt like that playing any other game, I'm like, this makes it more than worth it. Like, for me. One last thing. The 3DS remake. I did play the beginning of the 3DS remake. It is based on the original release, not the subsistence release, so you have no camera control.
It's top-down?
It's behind the back, top-down-ish. It depends. It's more behind the back. It's like behind the back, so...
But a different angle than 3? I mean, than, what we know, subsistence?
It's similar.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, it's similar.
I thought it was like... Well, because what I said earlier, I thought it was like Metal Gear Solid 2.
It's more like that.
When you told me that
3.
before.
Yeah, it's more like that than 3.
Okay.
Excuse me. So yeah, I would not recommend the 3DS remake, personally. It was extremely difficult to play, and the punishing states are all still there.
Of course.
Just made all the worse by the 3DS. So, cannot recommend it. Fun to have, but...
does it not have camera controls because you're not using the...
I looked this up. I believe it does not have camera controls, period. I would be curious to look that up for sure, though, because of the...
Well, you've got a new 3DS over there.
A nipple.
Yes. You can replace those with the PSP camera stick.
My nipple?
No, you cannot. With the PS3
3DS.
camera, PSP camera stick. It fits on there.
That's good to know. All right. Let's move on to
Metal Gear Solid 4, man.
So we kind of talked about the story already.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot, not all of it, but we've sprinkled some stuff here and there.
Yeah, so I'll kind of cover the gameplay real quick, and then we'll kind of go into some of the moments from this game. So I consider this game a huge step up from 3. Just Drebin's shop alone giving you access to an incredible amount of weapons. I think these games are so fun to play lethal. Like, I get it. You're supposed to be the cool stealth guy. But playing lethal just opens up some really crazy fun. So the level design is even better. This is some of the best level design I've seen in anything.
Now, don't forget, this is a sneaking mission.
Yeah, let's not forget, everyone. So there's one of my favorite moments, a great example. So the first 2 acts definitely have the best, like, on show.
Yeah,
they really carry.
That was very clear.
Yeah, and the first area in particular, I think, is the best. One of my favorite parts is you come out to this area, and there's a sniper on one of the PMC snipers is shooting down at all these other soldiers. You can go full lethal weapon and charge up at that dude and just try to take him out. It's you can do that, and there are fun little ways you can do it. Rolling through with your little, you get in your oil drum instead of your box. You roll over on your side and just you start rolling towards people. It'll knock them out. Or you can go around. You can squeeze through some walls and stuff. You can bypass it entirely if you want, but if you want to help the PMCs, you can go over and take out 2 of the guys and hope the sniper doesn't see you above, or you can go through the house. If you go through the house, you realize there's some other guys upstairs hiding from you, and you need to or that are attacking from the window, and you need to take them out. But then you can hop out of the window and literally walk on top of the guy sniping people from the top of this little bridge. And you can hold him up, grab his gun. You get a sniper way early, like a really good sniper really early for having that. And then you can drop down behind the 2 guys on the ground holding the PMCs back and grab one of them, hold your gun up at the other one and say, don't move. And then choke the other guy out and then shoot the other dude. Like, it's just really satisfying. That's just one example of like a single 10-minute, 5-minute stretch of this game.
There's a lot of variety here. Now, there's a lot of rolling, too, if you're really good at the game. That's primarily how you're going to make your way through.
Which is a great addition, and, dude, it's so helpful in 5 as well. But you crouch, hold X, and move to this. Aim, hold X, move to the side, and he'll start rolling on the ground. And
the really gap between 4 and 5 was pretty big. What was that, 2015? Or
2008 to 2015, yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Ground Zeroes was 2014. But Ground Zeroes actually plays differently than 5. Like, there are a couple tweaks that they made between Ground Zeroes and 5. They're like,
it makes sense.
So, it's pretty amazing what they were able to do, honestly, with 5. So, yeah, that's good. Octo Camo, great addition. Because one of the biggest pain points of 3 is having to go to the menu, switch your camo, go back, switch your camo, go back, switch your camo, all in a menu. So, there's a couple different ways. Assigning camos to, shortcuts would have been an option. Got a camo wheel. But I really liked the idea. Kojima's team just really, they're like, well, what if you just press yourself up against something and that becomes your camo? And it's like, well, yeah, that's what I want. I want the best camo, the thing that camouflages me. Like, that's what I wanted anyway. And now it happens like that.
Yeah,
done.
It's really awesome.
Like,
no, my dog hates it. Terrified by it. One, it's not natural for people to be crawling that often. And so my dog watches
with some
TV.
Firm cheeks,
guys.
Rotund.
No, not rotund. No, they're pretty flat.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
Very muscular. Like, you see the indent on each side because it's like they're like
butt
firm
dimples.
muscles. Anyhow, yeah, that is very skin tight. Not just skin tight. Like, it goes way up. That's the craziest wedgie ever.
Oh yeah.
But my dog watches TV a lot and doesn't like quite a few things. Other animals, violence. And Snake crawling on the ground, laying down flat and changing his skin. He doesn't like it at all.
Did the guy that you were watching do the slow crawl?
A couple times, I think.
Like, where he lifts just his little fingers and, like, pushes himself, like when Snake does this thing.
I can't recall. I have seen it before.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing, but it keeps your camo at full, which is nice. I think it's just ridiculous.
It's awesome.
Poor dog.
George. He's crazy. And dude, we talked about it a little bit already. The geckos, man, they're so cool. I've seen them before. In front of the desk I used for a few classes at school, there was a Metal Gear Solid 4 poster. So I saw it for 3 years with a blueprint of one of the geckos.
Oh, that's cool.
It was very cool. So I've seen them before, but seeing them in action is
moving. Oh,
crazy,
dude, their legs, and they're like little like gecko toes, like the little suction cup toes.
Yeah,
very odd. Very odd.
And then Raiden sort of has feet like that.
Yeah.
a little,
Raiden also
longer.
kills like 40 of them.
Yeah.
Because dude, when they like grab him and he just breakdances and swings them around.
What is that?
It's
This
insane.
is crazy.
It's insane. Yeah, that's really good stuff. Yeah, the camo they fixed, that was a great choice. I really enjoy the flexibility of so there are two mechanics that work really well. So the whole goal of this was, what would sneaking through a war zone be like? Where not everyone's going to be paying attention to you. Like you're just trying to fight the enemy. Like, what does that look like? And for the first two the acts, they do such a good job. Like, you can manipulate the sides. You can really, help find ways to use what's going on to push yourself through the area.
Yeah, it's almost a different game from the other three acts.
I totally agree.
Because there's none of that. Like, there's reference to the PMCs, but you're just in set piece after set piece after that.
Yeah, which I dislike. I think the first two areas of this game are some of the that's what shows what Metal Gear Solid 4 is, in my opinion. And there's some even on the stupid tailing mission, like I was able to do some pretty silly stuff to some of the guards and stuff. It's
oh yeah, Act 3 was just watching it was like, dude, this trailing mission, what the hell is happening?
And then the cutscenes are all terrible exposition dumps.
Yes.
That make no sense. Like, it's you do get one cool Snake being awesome section as he breaks into the church, though, where he like has his gun through a guy's arm, like twists his leg so he's choking one of the dudes. Just really cool. Good action sequence there. But yeah, otherwise I was...
And then, of course, the end to that chapter.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to skip ahead now because you mentioned it. My favorite moment in the entirety of Metal Gear, the entire series that is not a gameplay moment, is just when Liquid Ocelot reveals that he has control of GW. So just for reference, right? So private military corporations, everybody's connected onto this neural network that assigns like, okay, only you can fire your gun and stuff. It's all nanomachines, all plugged in. And so he has gotten control of the central AI that monitors and manages all this stuff. And so he gets surrounded as he's trying to escape by it takes 4 minutes of cutscene to like show how many people have surrounded him. Like, it's a lot of people. And he's out there on his boat. And he in his over-the-top thespian voice, he's like, "Behold, the guns of the Patriots," and he holds up his hands in little like finger guns and just points and says, "Bang!" Points at a helicopter, bang. Points at a guy, bang, 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 bang. He starts like, bah! And like the helicopter falls out of the sky, because he has control of the system now, and just his childlike glee at this moment
is very silly,
raucous. It's my favorite. He honestly, who I always forget the voice actor's name, but the guy who does Ocelot is so good. Snake. It's so.
How does Troy Baker do?
It's
a different Ocelot because it's not liquid, right?
Yeah, it's. He's very collected. He's not silly at all. Okay. And unfortunately, Troy Baker gets almost no time. Nobody does. Like, really, it's a very cutscene averse game.
Darn.
Yeah. So like,
I say darn. I mean, it's been a wild ride. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, like, and that's what I miss too, right? Is those moments. It does make up for it with probably one of the best in gameplay storytelling moments. No, the best in the series, by far. That's why I need you to finish it. It's one of the final missions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's one of the final missions.
Unlockable endgame stuff?
No. It's before the...
Because you don't ever do that.
Yeah. It's before the final mission.
Okay.
But it's... you do need to be, like, playing the game. Anyway, it's brilliant moment. But aside from that, there's not really that many cutscenes. There's a couple good ones with... Skullface, but yeah, Troy Baker really doesn't get as much time to shine. Now, when he is there, he's doing great. Like, ride, let the legend come back to life. Like, it's just very cool, very cool. But like, yeah, not as much. Or when he's training the guys. So, I definitely, because he doesn't get as much time to shine, do prefer the old Ocelot, just because he gets way more stuff to do.
Yeah. So at the end of 3, or at some point in 3, it's revealed that he's a double agent and is working with Snake.
So no, he's not working with Snake. He's working with Eva.
Okay.
But I don't.
Which
know if
is
that's revealed in
not the
3.
boss? Eva is or is not the boss?
Eva is busty lady who gave him the gun. The boss is his mentor, the one in the white.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Ocelot is a double agent for who?
For the boss.
For the boss, okay.
Yeah, for the boss. And he takes it like if you were to be a lore fanatic, which I'm not, so I don't know how accurate and like how I couldn't describe this to you rather, but if you break down the entirety of Metal Gear lore, Ocelot is the primary protagonist. Like he is the reason things get resolved and done. It's very ridiculous. But thankfully I don't care about that stuff. I just like watching Ocelot make finger guns and shooting things.
Yeah.
My other favorite moment in the game, you have shut down the Patriot AI system. You've claimed freedom for the world. And Snake is exhausted. He's been in a microwave chamber, like his suit exploding.
Yeah, with all of the muscle fibers.
Yeah, and he's like crawling. It's a really good moment. And he's done. And
and he gets there and he's like, Otacon, can you do it?
Yeah, he's like he can't do it. He's so great. And so he's done, and Hal's like, okay, Snake, I'll go get someone. Leaves the weakened, bruised, beaten Snake by himself. Ocelot just walks up and drags him to the top of this battleship to inject themselves with what is essentially adrenaline shots for them. It fulfills the same purpose, so that they can beat each other into pulp until their bodies literally give out. Like, until adrenaline will not sustain
It becomes
them
a fighting game.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, and you're, like, fighting each other, and there's these little cutscenes and stuff. And it should be drawn out and lame, but they layer in, so you have your first kind of fight with him, and Liquid's always been the better CQC fighter, so he's kind of kicking your butt at first. And then as you kind of really start to fight, your health bar, both of your health bars from the original Metal Gear Solid 1 come up, right? And then when 2 happens, the health bar didn't change. The style of the health bar didn't change from 1 to 2, but the names changed. And so you have, you now have, just Liquid Ocelot instead of just Liquid Snake. Like, so his health bar is Liquid Snake, now it's Liquid Ocelot. And when you get to 3, it goes to the 3 style health bar, and it's just Ocelot, and he's just... And the music, like the theme from each fight from the last game is playing, until you finally get to, they are both, like, their swings are like lifting boulders, like they can barely swing their fists anymore, and it's just the old Snake theme from 4 starts playing.
Which is so
such
good,
a good
man.
theme, and it's this moment of triumph, but it's like so somber and like really like it's profound. Like they do a really good job in this ridiculous moment of like grounding, like sending the series off. Really, like I honestly think that if it wasn't such a huge gameplay step up, I would tell people to play 5 before they played 4. But the gameplay makes it hard to
go back.
Now, I mean, now that I have played 5 and I'm not immediately going back to 4, like, right, it's better. Like, I'm playing it's nice to play a linear game, but, oh, dude, so many good moments. So many good moments. Like you said before, returning to Shadow Moses.
Wait, you forgot.
Uh-oh.
When their swings become, slow as lifting boulders, they finally decide, we need another shot. But if I take a shot and he doesn't, then I won't be able to fight him. So I'll give him a shot.
And so
they give each other, like crossed arms. They're staring at each other. They cross arms in front, like between each other, and they stab each other in the neck with their last shot.
Flail back. Like it's very.
It's so dumb, dude.
I love it so much.
Yeah, it's very silly. A lot of fun.
So yeah, really quality. I wanted to bring up Shadow Moses when you go back.
Yeah.
It really they make it. It's surprising how little they go, hey, do you remember this? Remember this? They let the place do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like Otacon has a couple moments, But like they really do let the place do the nostalgia for you, which makes it not nostalgia bait. Like it really does, because it has changed too. And yeah, and then to see Snake in that place again, hunched over, like kind of like pounding his back a little bit, to make sure that he his sore back,
Yeah, and Ocelot sort of testing his memory, seeing how quickly that's setting in. He's like, "Hey, let me tell you this password. Remember that." And then you go and type it in, and you can't remember it. And he's like, Otacon is like, "Oh, I wrote it down, but I can't find it. Will you type it in?" And you get it wrong. And then he's like, "Oh, I guess I found it here." Well, I remembered it. I just not remembered it.
Very grumpy. And the psyche meter, I like that mechanic quite a bit. So you probably never got to see it in action.
No, because he's very good.
But if Snake is ever in direct sunlight, or if there's an alert phase going on, his psyche gauge will begin to deplete. If you go through a moment like that and he can't remember the code, his psyche will deplete. If someone calls him old, his psyche will deplete.
Oh yeah, it happens in cutscenes.
Yeah, and it's literally his PTSD bar. That's literally what it is. It's a PTSD bar. And when it gets to the bottom, like if you get like hit by someone, you'll fall over and like be stunned, and you have to like shake the controller to get yourself to get back up. Like your hands will be really shaky when you try to shoot your gun. It's very impactful. So it makes up for some of the problems of 3 in that you die way faster. But guards are less. They're still alert, but nowhere near as alert as 3. And you have to really, like, if you can choose to just power through an area. Like if you get seen, just run through the end. Like shoot some people, like just get through to the end. Well, your psyche's going to be 0 by the time you get to the end. So you better hope you have some sort of like, something to deal with that. Because if the next area you're going to have to be, shooting a boss with shaky hands the whole time. Like, so it's an interesting punishment system that's better than just having a bunch of health, having to kill yourself because there's a million guards everywhere. Like, you can choose to push through. Go ahead. You can whip out your grenade launcher and just start blowing everybody up. But you're going to be in alert phase, and Snake's going to be, like, having a really rough time.
Yeah. Since the player that I was watching only got alerted, like, 3 times, I pretty much only saw it during cutscenes. The scripted moments when it goes down.
Naomi is a silly character. I think she's ridiculous.
Nao, yeah.
She's just like, although she finally got to have a script to not, like, I think her performance in the first game sucked, and I don't think it's her fault, because she's an incredible voice actress.
Yeah.
She finally has a script to work with, and she does a great job. I just don't like that character. And the friggin' Otacon, just everything his penis touches dies. Like, it's just, and he's like, I'm not gonna cry anymore. And then he immediately proceeds to weep like a child a few scenes later.
Yeah, he's...
The best part is that Kojima has said multiple times,
Otacon.
yeah, that's me. Like, Kojima's like, yeah, that's me. That's my stand-in in these games.
I really liked Meryl. I liked her presence in the game, and especially
Johnny.
the end with Johnny when she says no to his proposal while they are being gunned down. They're cornered. Hey, will you marry me? And she's like, no, and then corners him and is like, because I'm gonna do it my way. Will you marry me? And then say yes. There's a kiss, and then it's like some Mr. and Mrs. Smith stuff where they're
exactly
like rolling around on the ground, making out, killing people. It's amazing.
With a massive desert eagle. Like,
Yeah, it's so fun, dude.
Yeah, it's very silly. While Raiden is killing people with his teeth. Like, it's just...
Oh, and then the wedding does happen at the end, which the epilogue is...
Oh, that's a long
it's
epilogue.
very long. And I don't just mean like the cutscene is long. It's just drawn out too much. All of it.
It has some good moments, though.
Of course.
And again, you and I talked about how it should have ended at the credits. Like, cut to black. Snake shooting himself. Like, it should have just ended. We don't need Big Boss to come in and explain everything.
I would have preferred the cut to black. I'm fine with Big Boss showing up, but Big Boss is there for way too long, and discredits everything that just came before.
Yeah, all of it.
Just saying the same stuff over and over.
Taking
and
the
over.
lore too seriously. And it does have my favorite moment from the epilogue though, is just what I think it's Sunny's like, "Where's Snake?" And Otacon's like,
"Oh yeah,
that
is pretty good.
Hard life." And it's just like you just like, "Oh, wow, that's a really like he knows where Snake is going, where he is mentally, what he needs to do." It's just like, oh, he's like, that's a really good moment.
It's very, very good, man. Yeah, I would have been fine with the cut to black, but the wedding does happen, and she's in a white dress, no shoulders, no back. She is ripped, bro.
Yeah, she's a really buff. That's fantastic.
She's huge,
dude. You know what I think is one of the dumbest relationships in the game is her and the Colonel.
Oh yeah.
Like it makes no sense. Like, well, I had to conceal it from Meryl, and it's like, no, you didn't. You're just an idiot and a terrible father.
Sort of like Rose, an idiot and a terrible wife.
Yeah.
I hate Rose so much, dude.
She's not in Rising Revengeance.
Good.
Yeah, you just get to. It seems like Raiden is just. In fact, the whole point of Rising Revengeance is just. Because Raiden's arc, let's talk about this a little bit. So Raiden's arc, right, at the end of Metal Gear Solid 2 is you make your own memes. Like, you pass on what you choose, right? Like, this kind of liberation moment for Raiden, like, breaking free of the scripted life up to this point for him, right? And he says, even if it is dictated by everyone else, like, just do what you can. Like, that's the best you can do. It's this really simple, trite message delivered through an incredible lens, right? It's the best. That's Metal Gear Solid 2. And we see Raiden, and he is in 4, and he has chosen exactly the same life that he had before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really sad arc, if you think about it, because all of that incredible stuff from the end of 2 has not lingered with him in the right way, which is so often true in real life when you have a big revelation moment like that. It's gone at the very best a few years. And I think it's really good. I like that they brought him back. Rising Revengeance takes that a step further and is like, let's just make him accept that he loves murdering people. Like, that's the arc of Raiden in Rising Revengeance. He's like, no, I don't like murdering people. And eventually he's like, yeah, I kind of like murdering people. And then he just accepts it. That's his arc. That's his whole arc in Rising Revengeance. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Interesting. I'm just trying to connect the Raiden and the reason for the Raiden in Metal Gear Solid 4 with who we know Raiden is and Jack is supposed to represent in 2.
Yeah.
Like, is there a connection there? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Probably not. It's taking the lore too seriously. That's why, I mean...
well, no, it's not taking the lore too seriously. It's taking the... if Raiden is in 2, that is, a metaphor for the player. Like, I did the Shadow Moses incident. I know everything. I should know how to play this game. Why don't I get to do the big stuff? I'm the hero. And then knowing none of that is true, knowing how lesser you are, and being okay with that, and then choosing more and more.
Literally replacing your whole physical body so that you can live that life anyway.
Yeah, like
better. You can be better than that other guy.
So I'm just trying to see if I'm like in my mind right now trying to see if he's continuing that that message with Raiden. I don't know. I'm not making a statement. I'm just thinking about it.
No, that's interesting.
Dude, Metal Gear Solid 2, bro.
So
I love Metal Gear Solid 2, guys.
Oh, the Metal Gear fight? What catharsis. Like, it's just like, we know you've been playing these mech games. Like, you want to pilot one, and then you want to fight another one with your mortal enemy in the cockpit, screaming at you the whole time. Like,
yeah.
Snake! Fox! Die!
Dude, Ocelot is so funny.
I love him so much. But yeah, like, I mean, You get to literally just like jump on top of Metal Gear Ray in a Metal Gear Rex. Like it's really, and then Raiden rips his arm off and stops a boat from crashing. Like a massive with this boat, mind you, has the Mount Rushmore with all of the snakes carved into it instead of presidents as the face of this boat. Like
God, it's insane, dude.
Oh, it's a wild ride, and I think for the most part when they do stuff like that, they earn it. Like they've earned it. So a couple of things. The CQC is way snappier. Being able to move quickly from grabbing people, holding people up, throwing people down. Like I love that you can pat people down and then just crunch their balls and punch it with your gun, and they collapse and get knocked out. It's just really clean. One of my favorite ways to play 5 is just CQC only.
Oh, you can also trade a monkey cigarettes for Coca-Cola.
Oh, that is true. That is true. I do like Dreven's shop. Lots of silencers and fun stuff, and just ways to really break the game if you really feel like it, which is great. Like I love it when people are like, yeah, if you feel like breaking the game, like go ahead, you know. Metal Gear has always, every game, especially 3 on, has been about setting your own play style. Do you want to kill everyone? Do you want to kill no one? Do you want to be stealthy? Do you want to just literally go in and find silly ways to kill everybody from like a turret or something? Like, do it. Do you want to break the game? Go ahead. Buy the massive, super big explosive gun right at the very beginning of the game and just kill everyone. Mm-hmm. Keep buying ammo. It's really good. The bosses don't always land in this one.
Oh yeah, talk about some of the big letdowns. So of course we've got the third act. We've got that the narrative takes itself too seriously, tries to connect everything. But you had mentioned something that I didn't really get to experience because I was watching it. A problem with the what are they called?
The Beauty and the Beast.
Those. Is that like not a fan favorite or something?
Definitely not a fan favorite. Well, again, most fans think this is the worst game in the series by a margin.
By a margin?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and I disagree. Obviously.
Like, how could it be worse than 1?
Yeah, I don't know. Some people are really fond of 1, you know. And in terms of the world, the self-contained ideas of 1. It definitely.
Oh well, yeah. Good. Okay, so if we're taking into account all of the narrative, you know, yeah, I do think the identity. You know, I've been having this conversation recently, actually, because you know we're sort of collectively on a Stranger Things kick, and 4 lacks the identity of the other 3, which we've talked about, but that's not exactly what I said earlier. But each of the other 3 have a very distinct identity, especially 2. And Stranger Things is very much the same. Season 2 and 4 suffer supremely from a lack of identity. Like they keep leaving Hawkins, introducing new plot lines that just aren't, you know, really worth it. But anytime you shift focus back to Hawkins, like it's in full force. And season 1, perfection. Season 3, also perfection for entirely different reasons. Like it's dumb, pulpy, doesn't take itself seriously. 1 is like, it's new. The kind of horror there, focusing on the children and incorporating nostalgia, but twisting it in certain ways and being for adults, being for kids, this perfect middle ground. 1 and 3 are just perfect. 4, I think, is like Metal Gear Solid 4 is like season 4 of Stranger Things, in my opinion, which there are awesome highs. It's taking the story in new directions, but also it's doing so many things that maybe it didn't need to do.
Yeah.
And I think it suffers for that reason, though I would still put it in number 2 for myself. I like it. Though I didn't finish 3, currently more than 3.
So I think that I really like 2 a lot. But 4, the Beauty and the Beast unit definitely are lackluster, especially when stacked up against the fantastic bosses from 3, with so much variety and really ways to engage with them. Except the Fury. The Fury can suck my butthole. And
Whoa, bro.
I hate That boss. I hate him. He brings me fury.
Oh.
Maybe it was intentional. I don't know. But I hate him. You can cut his air suit and he starts screaming and I'm like, yes, die. Putrid.
Maybe I do like killing.
Yeah, I do like killing. And then, but yeah, so for the Beauty and the Beast unit, the octopus, crying octopus, she's really lackluster boss fight. Like nothing special happening. It's very slow, very boring.
Crying octopus. I don't remember her.
She's Lily the Doc Ock.
Yeah. The first one you fight.
Yeah. And then the second one is the
wolf, right?
This is the third. The second one is the vulture one. The what is it? Raven, Vulcan Raven, and what is it? Raging Raven? I don't know. Something Angry Raven.
Rage. Because I remember that word very clearly.
Rage! So like the whole point, right, is that it's combining...
Give me your rage!
Yeah, combining the first game's code names with the third game's code names, right? Like that's the whole shtick. That boss, that's actually a decent boss fight. It's fun to climb up. It's slow though. Again, it's just a slow boss fight. Unless, I assume this person's really fast.
The only one he really had any trouble with was the wolf.
Yeah, and that's because the wolf has all those other enemies there as well, boosting your psyche gauge, decreasing your psyche gauge when you get seen and stuff. But that's my favorite one because she's like camoed, and you can like, if you're really good. Basically, the narrative of the game changes on how good you are at fighting that boss. If you suck at fighting that boss, like let's say you need to cheese the boss. There's a spot, very intentionally and obvious, that you can just crouch and wait and spend 30 minutes fighting the boss and kill her without getting hit. Just crouch under a car and kill her.
Okay.
You can be out and about and trying to manage it and stuff, but you wait for her to shoot at you and then you go and follow her. If you're really good, you track her. Like you can find her footprints, you listen out for her. Like you become the hunter. From your perch, dropping down and following her. Like it's for the first half of the battle, it's hunting her, and then she started hunting me a little bit more. But it's like it changes the narrative of the encounter based on how well you're doing.
That's pretty cool.
So I actually have a lot of respect for that boss fight. And then Mantis.
Yeah. Okay. Before Mantis, not one of the Beauty and the Beast, but. The boss fight before you get in Metal Gear Rex, where
Vamp.
So you're not fighting Vamp.
That boss fight the first time I played took me forever because I didn't realize you could use the syringe.
What's his name? Raiden is fighting Vamp. It's split screen, and a cutscene is happening in one scene on one screen, and the boss fight is happening on the other screen.
Just railgunning a bunch of gecko.
Yeah, like it's not hard. So I guess it's not a boss fight. It's just a long encounter. Yeah, big set piece. But that was so cool.
Oh yeah, I liked the split screen a lot. I bet for someone who's not playing it, it's even better. You can switch between the two.
No, I doubt it, because I think that's the whole point.
No, for sure, I get it. Like
you're Snake caring for Raiden, but not able to. And like as the player, you're focused on the action. Absolutely. You'll die, and like you gotta look, what's happening, because there's a lot of tense moments where he's losing for a second.
Yeah, it's good. I like that.
Very cool.
I like Vamp. What a silly character.
Yeah.
Dude, when he has the knife like right in his crotch, and just, like Naomi's like reaching for it around him, like it's just very unnecessarily vampirically sensual.
Yeah, of course.
It's great. I love it. I think
a lot of unnecessarily sensual things.
Oh yes, so many. I think that's mostly it. There's one thing I want to wrap up that I forgot to mention. When you booted the game up, did you go through the TV channels at all?
Yes, not the first time. I watched the first two to completion, and then when I started, so I think the two, because it takes about 2 full commercials to load, and then the game will start. But whatever that time is, it's going to be that amount of time, so you can flip through the channels for, let's say it's 3 minutes. You can flip through the channels and watch them for 3 minutes. So after I had played that opening part a few times, trying to figure out what was wrong with my PlayStation, I started the full playthrough, and they were different. So I didn't know I could change.
Yeah.
And then I just went and plugged put the disc back in and just watch them.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
My favorite one is the cooking show.
I did not watch all of them all the way through, but I did like what I saw.
So
of the
apparently that was
cooking
one of
show.
the most expensive parts of making the game. One of my favorite articles I've read, I think it might be a Ben Hansen article actually. He talks through the writer talks through the entire process of getting those made, and like Kojima like basically touching base with the guys who did the iPhone commercials.
Yeah.
And hey, here's what we want, here's what we're looking for, but you go. Like he literally just gave him a pitch. Like here's what the world's like. Here's kind of the themes of the game. Make some commercials for this world. And they have David Hayter in there.
Yeah. Playing Snake.
Yeah, it's really good. I like him a lot.
He's doing a movie
he's
press
David
tour.
Hayter playing Snake, who's like, but he's on the press tour for the thing he's playing Snake. It's very bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
It's very bizarre. And she like gets very like pointed with him, and he's like, what is going on? Like he's very, he's good. Yeah, he's really good in that. So yeah, I mean, all that is just great, and just seeing creators let other creators just have a field day and just saying yes.
And all of them are like the stereotypical ads you see in pretty much any cyberpunk fiction, where there's just sex everywhere. It's a part of culture. There's just war and killing everywhere, and that's fine.
Yeah, and like you're advertising it. Like,
Yeah.
Don't you want Mantis PMC? You know, like it's like, no, I don't want a private military corporation. That sounds terrible.
Yeah. Oh, dude. So I'd played through that a few times. This was all in the span of like 2 hours. Played through that a few times. Started the playthrough, then went back and watched all the ads on my PlayStation, and then watched most of the first act, where I pretty much got the whole spiel for the private the PMCs. Right as that's finished, I get a full picture of what's going on. Met Drebin. I get it. My door rings. And there is this massive pile. Just this huge pile of Amazon packages at my door. And I felt gross about it. It was a pretty interesting little moment.
Yeah, I really think when this game hits, it hits hard. It does a really good job. So yeah, that's my take. I definitely have a much higher respect for 2, much higher respect for 4. 3's dropped a little bit for me. I am just ready for 5.
Ready for 5, dude. I'm excited.
I mean, I've only put 120 hours in.
Yeah.
I think I need a little bit more to really get an idea of the
Definitely,
game,
definitely.
I don't really think I have a good grasp on it yet.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
Eventually.
You'll figure it out. Yeah, it just takes
Why won't it let me kill child soldiers?
a couple 300 hours or so.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you can't kill the child soldiers?
You're not allowed to kill children.
Don't.
Apparently that was too much.
Yeah, so you're not allowed, like Snake won't fire, or you'll get a game over?
You will get a game over, I think.
When you shoot at one, or if a kid dies?
I think...
Or rather, if you kill a kid.
So, honestly, I didn't shoot children, so I don't know the answer.
Okay, good.
I think it's you shoot one, and they die immediately with no matter what you shoot them with, I think.
Okay.
Maybe. Or, like, they die really fast, regardless, and because they're children. And you just...
Yeah. I cut that joke off. Like, I was going with it. I was like, wait a minute. This is not good. This is not... I shouldn't.
Yeah.
So, apologies. Truly.
Yeah, it's a shame that it's not used more in the game, the whole child soldier concept. They explored a little bit, but definitely not as much as I'd like them to.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell he was defanged a little bit with what he wanted to do with it. But yeah, regardless. I like these games, man.
I'm excited for 5. I'm excited for our next episode as well with Mass Effect 3, dude. Those games are schmacking, bro.
They're schmacking.
Well, 2 was anyway. 3, right out the gate. So I'm a few hours into 3. So are you.
Yeah.
I just woke up and had exhausted the conversation for the Prothean, not the civilization I thought they were going to be. They're Chinese people. They are China. I don't mean they're Chinese people. They're they sort of seem to resemble China today. And it's sort of an antagonistic relationship a little bit there right in the beginning. I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the results. The choice I want to see the results of the most is the letting the queen go.
Yeah,
the Arachne queen.
definitely.
That's the one I'm like.
And they remind you in the second one, like she possesses somebody else from, another solar system away. And it's like, I'm still here. Don't forget about me.
Yeah, don't forget.
So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see what happens. I forget. Did Legion survive for you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I have not gotten any of my crew back yet. I mean, I'm not very far. I'm like 2.5 hours, 3 hours in. So Liara you start with, and then some absolute meathead.
Yeah.
Goodness, like straight out of just an asset ripped straight out of Gears of War.
There's a one of my favorite episodes of Mystery Science Theater 3000. One of the movies they're making fun of is called like Space Wars, Space Colony. I don't know, something so like that. And it's just the main character. He even looks stupid, but he just big long hair and just jacked, like huge. And he wears these stupid like con like outfits, so, like his chest is always showing.
Okay.
And the running joke of the movie for the guys like making fun of it is just trying to come up with new names for this guy. Beef McLarge Huge. Like, like it's just dumb stuff like that.
That's basically this guy.
Yeah, it is literally, I think that every time I see him.
Beef McLarge Huge. What the heck?
I think one of them, there's like, Krug. Like, it's just, Krug. It's just really good. What a great show.
Yeah, so I'm liking it a lot so far. I did play the second one on easy because a few hours in decided, nah, this gameplay still isn't very good for me. I'm liking the gameplay much more so far. And there's a lot of cool additions. Excited to talk about it. Excited to finish the series. It's been awesome playing both of these this year.
Yeah.
We are wrapping them both up very shortly. So we'll be back. The next episode will be Metal Gear Solid 3. Then we're going to be taking a break because you are out of the country for a month.
Huzzah!
And this, Metal Gear Solid 5 is going to be a very long game.
55 hours minimum, probably.
Yeah, so it's good to have the month off. But we'll be back next time wrapping up Mass Effect. And folks, do consider joining the Discord. It's open. If you've heard the intro to some of the recent episodes, you can ignore us talking about Patreon there at the end. We are opening it to everyone. We want to share games. That's what this whole thing is about. Sharing what you love with who you love. So don't forget to do that, folks. And we'll see you next time.